everyone, and welcome back to the vlog. As you can see by my voice, I'm getting over a bad cold. Been off for a week, had a really good week last week, but now we're back on the ID3 and a little bit of a change because I was going to be putting the battery back into the car today because the parts arrived and had it all geared up to do that, but that's not going to happen because well, you're going to find out later why. But this is the pyro fuse here, as you can see. That's the fuse that from my old vehicle. Very simple device. You've got your prongs here. Inside here is a little bit of explosive, and I'll show you later how this works and why we're not doing the battery. So instead, what we're doing is we're going to be working on the front end. So we've got some damage, obviously, that we need to sort out. All the bits for the front are here, which is remarkable. So let's get on and do that. Let's crack on. Okay, and welcome to the front of the car. So today the plan is to get our wrap pack in place, but before we do that, we're going to sort out this old box. So this is the fan unit. Now fortunately the ID3 shares its fan unit with the ID4 and with a couple of models in the Skoda range as well, which means I managed to get myself this. So this is brand new, and I actually got it from Spain, would you believe, and even with the shipping it was still cheaper than buying it back here. Now the good thing about when you get the part is that you can see where the screws are, the mounting screws, and on here we've got four, literally 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then we've got this buffer here, and then that should be it. So our 4 screws, we can just see them behind there, not the ones that are very far back. You probably can't see those, but there's 4 screws in front here. So we're going to need a long driver for that. There's one there, there's one down there. So we're going to get this off and then we'll get the new one on. We'll take a look at this, because as you can see, that ain't no good. It's all cracks along there and it's damaged the whole length along, so it needs to be replaced. And look at the state of this filter. Fortunately this one comes with a brand new filter as part of it. Let me show you. So underneath here, come on now, we've got our little tab here. This can all come off actually because we don't need it in this model, but underneath here is a brand new filter and a carbon one at that. So there we go, that comes with the kit. Right, let's get this well, let's get the old one out first. Okay, so there's the old one, and as you can see it's split down the side here as well, so this thing was going to be totally useless. Our new one, we've just taken off the covers now, so here's a new one ready to go in, and yeah, let's get him in the car. Okay, so just as I was about to put this in the car, I found out why this was so cheap. It's got a crack in it. Look at that. Can you see that? Look at that crack, right along there, there. Now the crack isn't so bad, but why do people do that? Sell stuff and not say that there's something wrong with it. This is the second thing. You'll see this. You'll see the second item that I found. That's a little bit more serious. So I'm going to do a repair on this using my welding kit. It's not going to be pretty, but you're never going to see this bit. But the main thing is it's going to be sealed, which means that the fan's going to work properly. So I'll do that off camera, and then we'll put it back in the car.
A few moments later.
There you go, all done. Like I said, it ain't pretty, but you're never going to see it, and it is as solid as a rock. That's the main thing. Right, let's get this fitted to the car before we find anything else. Okay, so the heater fan system is now in place. That is very good. Went in easier than it came out, and it fitted just fine. This is a revised model as well, so that's good. Let's go and get the fan, or the rad pack, because that is about ready to go in. Now we've got our mounts all loose, so we should just be able to fit straight in there. Yeah, but we need to assemble it first, and it's rather complicated, so let's get on and do that. Okay, so here's our rad pack. Now I am assuming that this car is a little bit more complex than I first imagined. Now what I mean by that is excuse me, that I had to order this shield, and if you notice, it goes in front like that, and it blocks off half the radiator. Not only that, the radiator has this shield guard that comes down as well. So obviously this car must have problems with heating up or retaining the heat in the radiator. Hence the reason why I thought it was important to get that, because they wouldn't have put that in for no reason. So essentially that is your gap. That gap there, that's your cooling. The rest of it is shielded off. Fascinating. Alright, let's get this rad pack together, and I cannot for Adams remember how to put it together, but you know what, we're going to figure it out. Well, I could look at the manual, but that would be cheating, wouldn't it? So let's get this rad pack together. Do you know what? Go and look at the manual. I'm just fooling myself here. I'm just taking forever, and it's boring. All right, give me 2 minutes, and I'll come back and get this here.
A few moments later.
Okay, I've checked the manual. I think I've got it now. So this is the back of the pack, and that bit, he goes at the front. So these are correct, if I am correct. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so this is the front, sorry. This goes at the front. That one goes at the back. Let's try that. Let's see if that works. Okay, finally figured it out, and here is the assembled pack. So this here is the back, and then the other side is the front, and this goes on the other side. So now that we got that sorted, we can now try and get it in the car. Let's do that. Right, so I've turned the pack around, and this foam bit here I think sits like that. I think that's how that goes on, just like that. Because it seems to fit all the contours and everything, and it sits in front. And I think that's it. That is the pack. So you've got a grille here, and then this is shielding the top. Amazing, fascinating. Why have they done this? Who knows? But anyway, that's how I think it goes. So let's go and see if we can get this in the car. Okay, so we've put the brackets in place. That's these two here. And we just need the radiator now to just slot in. So we'll do that from a great height and see how we get on. Right, so we got our radiator in and our rad pack, which is good. That sits fine. It's held in by another piece, but looks like I might have made a mistake, because this piece here I think needs to go in first, because if you look at the width, it is not going to fit through that gap. So it's slightly fatter, might squeeze in, I don't know, but I think this has to go in first before this goes in, which makes no sense. But there it is. I'll figure that out after. Okay. Anyway, this bit here, this is the crossbar that the bonnet attaches to. That goes on like so. And then you can see there's some pins that secure the top of the radiator in place, which I don't have at the moment, so I need to go and figure that out. Also, these bolts here, for whoever, when they sold me this, they took the bolts out. Why would you take the bolts out? That makes no sense. You sell the locking mechanism, but you take the bolts out. That is just crazy. Absolutely crazy. I think I got the old one. I'm going to see if I can salvage the bolts from that. I haven't thrown it, but that's just crazy that you would do that if you're selling it with the whole lock. Yeah, anyway, that goes in like that. And then, like I said, this goes in front, but we'll come back to that. We'll sort that out in a second, but the front is pretty much coming together now. Now we need to sort out the actual front bumper itself, which I've got, which we know we need to go and dress. Oh, and we need to put the fan on, but the fan's quite easy, but I'm not going to do that yet because I may have to end up taking this out again.
The following day.
Right, it is the next day. Now yesterday I was still fighting this bug that I've been fighting all week, so I was absolutely exhausted by it, even so we didn't really make the progress I wanted to. Okay, so if you remember, I was speaking about the shrouding that goes in the front and trying to figure out how it goes on. Well, now I know. So essentially we got to take off the whole of the subframe. Yes, this front subframe has to come off, and then we offer up the frame. We have to put some screwdrivers in to hold the radiator pack in place, so we don't have to take that off again, which is good. And then we put the front shield, and what it is, it's I can't remember what it's called again now, I've forgotten, but essentially what it does is it basically keeps the radiator warm. Okay, so it's a spacer or something like that. We'll put it on, then we offer up this frame. That's the correct procedure for doing that. So let's get this off, and then we'll offer up our shield, and then we'll put this back together, and that means we start making progress. So let's get on. Okay, so there we go, subframe off, or front crash bar off. Now this frame here, this bit of foam, that goes on like that. That's it. Sits in front like that. There's no bolts or anything, it just sits in, and then the subframe here goes back on front. So now we got it in place. Let's bolt everything back up, and that will finish this part, if it stays in place. Okay, so now we got the front now all connected, all up, and it is looking really good. Very pleased with the way that goes. This actually bolts to the front here, as you may have seen me doing. Now I know this is bent, and the purists out there saying you should replace this, but really it doesn't really matter. All this is doing is holding a sensor. That's all it does. So it ain't gonna shake, ain't gonna rock and roll. It is absolutely fine. We don't need to replace that because of that. Nowhere else on the crash bar is damaged, and I just don't see this point in replacing this, just all of this, just because this is bent. Okay, good. Now we did a mock fit on one of our lights and it looks pretty good. Excuse me. So the only thing we've got left to do now is just fit the radiator, and then that'll be it for the front. Yeah, pretty pleased. This isn't screwed in, by the way, so if you're wondering why there's a gap, it's because it's literally just rested in place, but I wanted to make sure that it lines up with the screw, and as you can see, it clearly does. So we're in a good place to fit the front, but there's a whole lot of sensors here that need to be done, not to mention this. Fortunately, we know where it goes. It goes onto here, so we know what we need to do. Right, next let's get the radiator fitted, and then let's go and deal with that pyro fuse. Okay, should be able to do this one hand. Right, so just I suspect this is one of those cases where I should have dropped it in before. So I reckon we could probably do this one-handed. Make sure it's the right way around. Here's the power. Yep, we're good. Okay. Yeah. Let me put this down for a second.
A few moments later.
Okay, so we just undid the AC pipe and that water pipe, because this pipe here, very delicate, they break very easy. So we need to get him out of the way. Let's try that again. Should be able to get him past there. There we go. Okay. Just past him there. He's in place there. There we go. And he's in place there. There we go. So there's a fan in place. So we just need to connect up the water pipe. Let's do that now. And that just clicks into place. There we go. And the same again down there. And that's it. And then we put this AC pipe back in there, and then the screw, and that, oh, of course, the power. But that's it. It's all back together. Okay, so once again, that's this bit all completed. We've got our fan in place and plugged in. Everything's in place. We need a couple of bolts. We've got our holder to still put in there. You'll see that in the next couple of weeks. I think now the next thing is sort out that. Oh, let me show you the pyro fuse. So this is one of the shortfalls of buying stuff from eBay secondhand. Let me show you. Okay, let's talk about pyro fuses, or pyrotechnic fuses. That's what they are. So I ordered one of these. This is the pyro unit that comes out of the battery that you saw a couple of weeks back. This is the replacement one. This is my old one. Okay, now VW recommend you change this as a whole. You don't really, well, I don't see why, unless someone can tell me in the comments why you need to replace this. But I've taken this, my old one, I've taken it apart, and as you can see, this is the old fuse. Now this fuse, fortunately, is used in a number of other VW cars, so it's has a part number. Anything that's got a part number on it means it's, chances are it's used in another vehicle, in a different model, which you would expect from most manufacturers. So these fuses here, what they do is they offset the ampage that gets thrown to the power when you turn the car on. It basically, instead of a massive jolt of power, it steps the power up, so you get a gentle, and then that way that doesn't damage the batteries. It allows the batteries to extend their lives, etc. All right. That's it, very high level. Someone's probably going to comment and say, no, it does this, that and the other, but let's not worry about the details. Excuse me. Anyway, this fuse here, you can see this is the new one here. Now, essentially what you have here in the pyro fuse is this is an explosive, this at the top here, and you have a hammer, and we're going to take this apart in a second. You're going to see, and what this does, this is a continuous piece of metal. In the event of an accident, this will explode. That's the pyrotechnic. It pushes a piston down. That piston then basically breaks this metal, okay, and then renders this useless. And how you know that is that when you put, we'll get my multimeter and we'll turn it on to continuous signal. Okay, so what it should do is give us a little tone like we showed a couple weeks back. So when I touch that, you see that? We get that tone. So by me putting that prong there and then this prong on the other side, nothing. Yeah, so that tells me it's gone. Right, now this is the new one. Alright, and I can just see the metal prong there, so let me stick that in there. And here's the other end. And there's nothing. No sound, no nothing. Okay, I am definitely touching the metal here. If I'm wedging it in, just to make sure. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Which means this is a duff. This is exactly the same as this one. Now let me show you inside the fuse here, and you'll see exactly what I mean by the piston. Now bear with me for a second while I take it apart. And here you go. So here is an explosive view of a pyrotechnic fuse. Excuse me. Right, so here's your charge. So that's the explosive bit here, and you can see that that one's definitely gone off. It's very charred, and that's where the explosion takes place. So basically that explosive charge goes off, it pushes this piston down, which then breaks that center core, and here's your two pieces. So they will normally sit like so, one on either side. Let's just rest that there. So that will be like that. Here you go. And that will be like that. You see that? And then basically you got the little bit of metal in the middle there. That will be in the middle, and that's what that makes the connection. Once that goes off, it basically breaks it, and that's what we're seeing in this one here. So how do we go about fixing this? Well, fortunately, there's a company that produces these, and I've been in touch, and they're sending me one next week. So as soon as that comes, we can rebuild this original one, because there's nothing really wrong with this. It's just a pyro fuse, and essentially VW sell this as a complete whole unit. Once we put that fuses back in place, everything will function, because we've still got connectivity between these, because when I connect these together, they work. The fuses I've tested, the relays I've tested, and they work, so they're still doing their job. So it's just a case of putting that pyro fuse back here, and then we're ready to go. That's going back for a full refund. Yeah, really disappointed with that seller. I won't be using them again, and interestingly, they haven't even disputed it either. So they obviously knew that they were selling parts and were hoping that you would either get away with it. But the best thing is, I'm glad I tested this before I put it back in. Can you imagine if I put that back in the battery, bolted it back up into the car, and then found that it wasn't working? Wow, I would be upset. Right, anyway, so that's that. So we'll hopefully get that. Well, we will get that, because the company that I've bought the new one from, they're going to send it next day. So we'll get that early next week, and then we'll fit it next weekend. Right, let's finish up, shall we? Okay, so we are making progress, albeit on the slow side, but we're making progress. That's the main thing. So next week we plan to get the battery back into place, and then get that connected up, and then hopefully we'll get some life from the car. So you do not want to miss that episode. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe down here. If you are a casual subscriber, click on the bell notification so you're notified whenever we release a new video. And for those of you who are not subscribed, and there's still quite a large number of you, it doesn't cost you anything, but it does help our channel to grow, because it helps then the YouTube algorithm sees that and presents that material out to everyone else. So if you haven't subscribed, then consider subscribing. In the meantime, we will see you next week. Have a good one, and we will see you very soon.